Kevin De Bruyne suffered an accident today in training. We understand he is still being assessed, but he'll be out for somewhere between 2 and 4 months. Now, we talked about the significance or the importance of Wilfried Zaha to Manchester City, to Crystal Palace, Craig, but I know it sounds a daft question, which I accept is my speciality, but even though Kevin De Bruyne is that good, he's a sensational player, are Manchester City that strong in depth? They're possibly one of the few clubs that can cope without him in the short term.
Yes. Yeah, look, it sounds crazy because how good he is. But, you know, you're going to take away now a player who's, you know, first on assists, first at creating chances, who's so important to your football team. But with the players they have then, you know, like I said earlier, the two Silvas, and David Silva's a genius. He's a genius. Bernardo Silva is just improving. He keeps getting better, and I believe this year is going to be a good year for him. Gundogan, but also, you know, you've got Mahrez. They've added one or two. They didn't need too much more. But at the same time, with this manager as well, it wouldn't surprise me that he just tweaks something, and he did, because every time he plays, like even against Arsenal the other day, it was, you know, you're seeing a formation going on, but when they have the ball, then they turn it into a free diamond free. He's just giving you an education every time you watch his team play. He'll probably, if it hasn't gone quite their way the next game without him, he'll tweak something that'll make it someone else that end up doing very, very well. Not to De Bruyne's standard, because that's how outstanding he's been. But this team, this manager, I have full confidence they're still going to be able to pick up points and still be able to win games at the rate they did last season.
I think what I'm really saying, Dan, is the absurdity of the situation that a world-class player like Kevin De Bruyne won't necessarily impact massively on Manchester City this season.
I think, you know, it goes back to something we said before. You talk about their transfer window. They're relatively quiet because they're not like the other teams in the Premier League. You know, to actually make their starting 11 better, you've got to go right to the top of the tree, the type of players you're going to bring in. But the only time you'll see the system that they're going to play is the likelihood is at kick-off. After that, the interchange and the players, you know, we've seen, I know it's going a little bit further back, but we've seen Walker, you know, playing as a centre-back. You know, you see Fernandinho, who's sitting. We see Sterling playing as a false number 9 at times. So they can deal with it. You know, Bernardo Silva's had a fantastic start to the season. You've got David Silva. I think the beauty of it is that when you look at most of the top teams in the Premier League, they've got, I'm not necessarily saying they've got one player of the quality of De Bruyne, but they've got one of them types of players. Manchester City, you've got 3 or 4, and they've got them in abundance. Yes, he will be missed. He'll be missed from any team, but I think, bizarrely enough, there probably would be, because of the quality that they've got within that position, there may actually be another player that could actually be more missed than De Bruyne. Not because of the quality of De Bruyne, but because of the strength in depth that they've got in that midfield area.
You talk about the fluidity of their formation and how they play. If you looked at most of their games and you said, OK, if they play in a similar scenario, week in, week out, which I know they don't, but there is a pattern to their play. Who is likely to be the most direct replacement, if there is such a thing, for Kevin De Bruyne? Or is it not the same as other teams?
It's not the same as other teams, and it's very difficult to replace like for like the player he is. Just, you know, we talk about his passing ability, but his intensity off the ball, his running ability, his ability to run beyond as well. I've been so impressed with him. He's just been...
Those figures are outstanding, aren't they?
He's an incredible footballer, but an intelligent footballer as well, at the highest, one of the highest I've seen for a long, long time. So you'd be deeply... Look, I hope it's just precaution, because usually when someone's done an injury, you usually see them on crutches straight away. That's usually the way. But at the same time, I'd like to see if it is the case, if it is 4 months. Hopefully it isn't, because I enjoy watching him. I enjoy this Premier League needs this man, we need to be watching this guy week in, week out. OK, it might not be the case for a couple of weeks. I just hope it is the case for a couple of weeks, because 4 months without him will leave me very down.
Yeah, well, depending on how long the injury is, this is what he'd miss if it was just 2 months.
You're jumping the gun, Jeff. Don't.
No,
don't go too far.
I'm emphasising. I agree with you. I hope it's a scare, and he's only out for a couple of weeks maximum. But the noises coming out of the club are certainly not. So he could well be missing a large chunk of the season.
But if you look at those fixtures there as well, I don't see any problems. Obviously, it's the standout one, which we're all, if you were Manchester City, you'd be concerned with him as well, is October the 7th, Liverpool. Yeah. I don't see any problems leading up to them. And I apologise to Cardiff as well, because I actually work at the football club as well.
Good luck when you go in tomorrow.
I just looked at it, I thought, no Cardiff in it. But, it's just due to their ability, due to the players they have. But the Liverpool game... Yeah.
And I think what they are, and this is where Guardiola comes into his own, as a team, they're problem solvers. Anything that any team wants to throw at them to try and stop them, they solve the problem. And likewise, Guardiola with players, he'll solve the problem. What does he see? He'll already be thinking ahead of himself. Now, the minute that injury occurred, like you say, we hope that it's not long-term, we hope that it's just a short one. He'll have been straight away. You can guarantee his mind would have been going, right, OK, what we're going to do, what player's going to play there, how we're going to play this. Because when you watch Manchester City, like I say, it's difficult to have a light-for-light replacement because they just don't play that way. They don't have a specific position. You know, they may be changing. And De Bruyne, what we saw last season in particular, he was now starting to become more of a deep-line playmaker instead of the one that's pushing up, the one that could pick the pass from deep. And he's a phenomenal player. He's world-class, there's no doubt about it. But Guardiola will come up with a solution.
But even the start of the season, don't forget, he didn't start against Arsenal, didn't start in the Charity Shield, and they still were impressive. Look, I'm just fingers crossed. Hopefully he isn't out for as long as first feared.
Just before we go to the break, just listening to what you were saying, and I know both of you study City and Pep and his methods and the tactics during the games as well. What would you do if you were the opposing coach the night before and you've got to take your team through what they do in the game when you study the opposition? Because you don't know what they're going to do and they're going to change it at the drop of a hat.
You don't, because you can't second guess him, because he's always one step ahead.
So what would you do in the team meeting?
Do you know what? I'm honestly saying, listen, this is a free hit.
Yeah.
Good luck, lads.
We are going all-out attack. It might be the worst. It'd probably be the worst thing that could happen to us, but we're going to leave men wide. We're going to try and cause them problems. So as soon as we win it, they leave themselves open in wide areas. Very difficult to get the ball off, and very, very, very difficult to get that first pass. But we have to offer a threat. Otherwise, we're going to get beat anyway by sitting back.